Valorant, the game that everybody wants access to but nobody gets in. Hey guys, it's Alfred, and today I'm going to be discussing why I think that Valorant could be the future of FPS games. So let's start off by describing Valorant. Valorant is an upcoming free-to-play multiplayer first-person shooter developed and published by Riot Games. The game first was announced with the codename Project A in October 2019. It is set to be released for Microsoft Windows in the summer of 2020. Valorant is a tactical shooter multiplayer 5v5 game, where the main objective is to either plant the bomb or defuse it, very much like we've seen for the past 20 years in Counter-Strike. So let's get into the pros why I think Valorant could be the future of FPS games, and we'll deal with the cons later. It is being developed by a well-known and successful developer, such as Riot Games. I mean, they created League of Legends, and it's been the most popular game online for like 8 years now. And they've made so much money off of it. And they create new tournaments every single year, new buffs weekly, new skins weekly. And they've done a great job just keeping the game alive. And I think we can expect the same thing for Valorant for multiple years to come. Valorant, as we've seen, has great optimization. Even though we're in closed beta, you can expect if you've got a decent PC to get 144 frames per second. It's the standard. And the reason they've lowered the visuals, like lowered the quality of the visuals, is to maintain a wider player base. They want to make sure that this game could be played on the most expensive gaming rig, but also at an internet cafe in maybe like China, because they want as many people to compete in this game as possible. The game will still be hard and hardcore, just as CS, and that's why they're also taking this approach to gameplay over graphics, where some people might complain that the graphics are a bit too cartoony, but trust me, when you play Valorant and it runs perfectly on your computer, you're not only going to understand why it's cartoony, but you're also going to be thankful that they didn't go the Battlefield hyper-realistic route. So, as well as the simple graphics, you can also expect simple gameplay and the objective to be simple. Some of us might have played Counter-Strike, but not all of us. And to explain the terrorist versus counter-terrorist gameplay objective is, in total, it takes about 5 minutes. You know, you say all you could do to describe Valorant is say it's a team-based 5v5 first-person shooter terrorist game, where the objective is to either be the terrorist and plant the bomb or be the counter-terrorist and defuse the bomb. And that's the only thing you need to describe the game. Now, pretty much anybody could watch it knowing that that's what the game is about. Another thing that will help Valorant become a huge FPS game in the future is how they've never shied away from sampling ideas. And I'm not talking about stealing ideas, but they took an idea and they put their own twist on it. Sure, at first the game might look like Counter-Strike, but once you get into the abilities, you realize that it's very different. And the abilities will add another type of depth compared to the tacticals in Counter-Strike, like the smokes and the hand grenades and the flashbangs or whatever. The abilities in Valorant will help differentiate it from Counter-Strike, and I know some of you might be saying that, oh, but that just means that the abilities will make it more like Overwatch. But that's not true either. In Overwatch, you could have Soldier 76 just ulting and aimbot killing everybody. Or you could have Fair jump up in the sky and raining down on everybody, meaning that the abilities could grant you kills in Overwatch if you play them at the right time. Whereas in Valorant, the only thing the abilities do is they add utility to your character. With the exception of Race, she's the only one that can do damage, but all the other abilities in the game don't do any damage. And that means that the gunplay will be the main focus of the game. If you don't know how to handle the gun, you won't be good at Valorant, even if you use all your abilities perfectly. And so I think that's a perfect way to describe Valorant. They've sampled ideas, they've not stolen them, because they changed them up, so we're seeing something totally new and unique compared to other games. Before I get into the cons and the challenges that Valorant will face trying to become the next popular FPS game, I want to talk about the minor improvements that Valorant has added, which to be honest, some of them CS still doesn't have and maybe shouldn't have, but others CS definitely should have implemented. And it's sort of embarrassing that they haven't for like 20 years. And the biggest one is 128 tick servers. The 128 tick servers make Valorant feel so smooth. I mean, I'm in closed beta sitting in Sweden right now, and I've got 28 ping, which is where I'm from. 28 ping is amazing. Like, I couldn't get 28 ping in League of Legends, but I can in Valorant because that's the promise they made and they've actually delivered on it. Another cool idea that Valorant has is that you can buy guns for others. Like, anybody that has played Counter-Strike and how the economy in the game works is that you buy your own guns at the start of the round if you don't have one. And there's always that greedy one person that could afford to buy a single gun for every person on the team if he wanted to, but no, instead he's sitting there with like 8,000 extra after he just fully kitted himself out, and the others will have to fend for themselves with like a pistol. In Valorant, you can both request to get a gun bought for you, and then the person can choose if they want to buy it for you or not. They don't have to buy it themselves and drop it to you. It'll show up in your hands directly. Another huge thing that Valorant added, and I talked to this with my friend, is they added an in-game training area. And sure, you could download one in Counter-Strike and you'd be fine, but not everybody knows how to do that. So for new players, an in-game training area is a really great thing because they can practice their headshots instead of trying to grind 1,000 hours on deathmatch. And whereas if you compare it to Overwatch, sure, they had an in-game training area, or they still do, and it's been there since the beginning of the game, but every single bot in the in-game training area is static. They don't move. There's no variable where you have to test your reflexes. Sure, you could try your aim, but you'll always know where the bots are standing and where you should shoot. So you don't really get to practice like variables and stuff. You don't get to practice where an enemy could be. In Valorant, you could practice defending the bomb. You could practice trying to defuse the bomb. You could practice your aim too. I myself have used the training area a bunch, even though I might not have had to, but I really wanted to because it's a lot of fun too. They made it great. The last thing, super minor, but to be able to adjust your own custom crosshair in the game and for everybody else to see it is really fun. Sure, you can adjust it in Overwatch, but not as in-depth. And in Counter-Strike, you can adjust it more in depth, but you need to download a separate map and do it yourself, and your teammates won't be able to see it. Just a fun little thing that I like that Valorant did. Now, no game is perfect, especially not in the closed beta. And there's 3 major cons that I think will be challenging for Valorant in the future when it comes to trying to compete mostly against Counter-Strike, but also against Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch. And so the main one at that is it's harder to watch Valorant than CS because of each character having specific abilities. You know, in Counter-Strike, if somebody throws a frag grenade, that frag is gone a second after. But when Viper ults in Valorant and the entire screen turns green, people watching, especially if you're new to the game, might not know what to make of it. It might be difficult for people to understand what is going on, especially if you watch alongside on like Bind or something, how multiple teammates can drop smokes. Like, one smoke anybody can understand, it's just like Counter-Strike, but when there's a smoke fest and there's like 15 of them, and Omen maybe dropped a purple one, Brimstone a brown one, and Jet a white one, it gets really confusing quick. So the abilities, we'll have to see in the future if Valorant and the players just perfectly understand it after a while, but for now, that might be a difficulty comparing it to Counter-Strike. The second problem that Valorant will have is that while it may potentially be as difficult to learn as Counter-Strike, there will be a completely different learning curve than Counter-Strike, because in Counter-Strike, everybody plays the same character. Everybody can buy the same gun, just as in Valorant, but everybody can also buy the same tacticals, which means that once you learn how to use your tacticals, you're set for any game, anytime. Whereas in Valorant, every single character has its own specific abilities. So say somebody takes your character before you or picks your character before you in the game, and you only know that character, you're gonna have a harder time in the game because you don't know the ability of a different character. And so that will create a different learning curve. But also when to like counter pick. Maybe that'll be something in the future, just like in League of Legends, where you can counter pick your character to teammate or the opposing team's character because your abilities crush that person's abilities. And it'll be a meta for sure. And we haven't seen the meta yet, but learning it in the future will be way different than Counter-Strike. Now, the last problem for Valorant is maybe not really a problem, but more so a reminder that, the game is in closed beta right now, and it has a super long road ahead of it, and a pretty hard to tell trajectory right now due to it being really new. In the future, Riot might want to put more of an emphasis on the abilities, or they want to put a smaller emphasis on the abilities. If you go onto the Valorant subreddit right now, you can see how a bunch of people are complaining about the character Race and her abilities being able to actually kill people, which wasn't the plan in the future. And so we don't know right now if Valorant will take that, the Valorant team and Riot Games will take that as a hint and maybe not create characters with abilities that can do damage in the future, or if that's maybe the road they want to take, where abilities can kill and be lethal and be seen as a secondary compared to gunplay. So, not entirely sure in the future, but we'll have to see. So those were my opinions on Valorant. I did get a beta key and I've been playing it non-stop. For me, it was a home run because it had a perfect blend between the creators of League of Legends, the gunplay of Counter-Strike, and then the abilities of Overwatch. And I'll be playing it a ton more in the future. I'll be playing it on my Twitch, so you can follow me there, link in the description. And I want to hear in the comments what you guys think of Valorant. I believe that it could, in the future, be the biggest FPS game in the world, overtaking Counter-Strike. If you disagree, please write so in the comments. I'm eager to learn. Thanks. My name is Alfred, and I hope to see you in the future.